Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Regina Brett. I love talking to people about unexpected detours in life that ultimately led them to a new kind of joy they couldn't have imagined. Today's guest is one of those people. Kevin Adelstein is one of the most energetic and positive people I've ever met. He's the publisher and CEO of the Cleveland Jewish News and the Columbus Jewish News. You can read more about Kevin and read his publication at cjn.org. Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Regina. Thank you for having me.
Now, Kevin, you hired me to be a columnist at the Cleveland Jewish News back in 2013 by using a term I'd only ever heard from my husband, my favorite Jewish man in the world. No offense to you. It
None
was
taken.
the word Bashar, meant to be. You had called me to have lunch. We were sitting at a restaurant in Nighttown, and you asked me to join your staff. And I remember laughing, and I said, you know I'm not Jewish. I mean, the name Regina Maria is pretty Catholic. And you said you wanted inspirational writing. You said it's Bashar. And I nearly fell out of the chair because I'd never heard that word before, except for my husband. Let's talk about Bashar, meant to be. What does that mean to you?
Yes, so it's a powerful Jewish expression, Jewish meaning, and it means exactly that. It was meant to be. So I think we're all meant to be in our own purpose. And it was 2013 was a monumental year for me because I made a significant change in my life, and that was by deciding to join the Cleveland Jewish Publication Company as its publisher. And for me to go one step further, just not even a year into my tenure there, and tell my board chair at the time, who you know, he's past president of his synagogue, he's past president of his, actually he wasn't past president of his synagogue, but he's a very active member of his synagogue. He's past president of the Mandel Jewish Community Center, past president of Agnon School, which is now the Mandel JDS, that I wanted to hire a devout Catholic woman to write a weekly column for us. What was pretty significant for me. It took a lot of courage and guts, but I had a purpose, and that purpose is all about, it was meant to be. And having grown up with reading you in the Plain Dealer and the Akron Beacon Journal, and following you and just knowing how powerful your words are. So that was meant to be, to bring us together. And I had no idea that Bruce won you over by saying that it was Bashar, for the two of you to be together. So I was honored that you had tied the correlation of the two together, and I was in that same world as Bruce, wooing you over.
And you're probably surprised some Catholic girl knew what Bashar meant.
Yeah, I actually was. And then to see your reaction was priceless. I'll never forget sitting in the patio at Nighttown. I'll never forget that meeting, and you know, how I approached Bruce, and just that I wanted your number, and I didn't want him to negotiate for us. I didn't want him involved. I didn't want him knowing that conflict of interest, knowing Bruce's ties to the CJN as a past board chair and one of the best ones we've had. So I wanted to do it all on my own.
So let's talk about your wife, Darren. She was your Bashar. How did you meet?
Yeah, so Darren and I met because I was working as a usher at the Lowe's Cedar Center movie theater that is no longer. And I worked with one of Darren's best friends who was behind the candy counter. And Darren would come in and see Sabrina when we were working together. And we got to know each other there. And Darren went to Heights, I went to Brush. And I was working there my junior and senior years of high school. And throughout that whole time, I never thought of asking her out. And she went off to Ohio University. I went off to Ohio State, and actually Kent State for one semester. Then I transferred to Ohio State. And make a long story short, we'd see each other at Lee Road bars like the Colony and Tavco, where we come home for breaks. And it wasn't until I had just graduated and I'd asked her out in the bar. We were in the Colony, and I gave her my class ring from Brush and said, the only way I can get this ring back, it was a ridiculous pickup line, but I said, the only way I can get this back is if by me asking you out on a date and you going on a date with me. And she laughed, took my ring, and I called her up. And we went to see, our first date was at Loman's Plaza movie theater. At the time it was, I don't even know if they're still around. I hope they are. But it was like $1 movies. And we went to see Frankie and Johnny with Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer, went to a bar for dinner, and the rest is history.
Good history.
Darren, also, like you, we have as I know you know, we have a mixed marriage as well. Darren's a good Catholic girl, and I'm a good Jewish boy. So
yeah, my husband has a theory about that. He said Jewish men are taught they have to please their wives and do anything to please their wives, and Catholic women are taught you get your reward in heaven. So anything he does, I'm ecstatic. Let's talk about.
I love that.
Yeah, let's talk about your decision to have a child and your son Cooper. First, how did you pick the name Cooper? It's a very unusual name.
We just loved it. We fell in love with the name. We actually, I think we might have seen the name on one of a TV show that we had watched, on either Fox or NBC or something, and it was a character name, and it stuck with us, and we really liked it. And then we gave him his name. Cooper Henry is Cooper Henry Adelstein, his middle name. He's named after my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, Henry Shaw, and Darren's uncles and grandfather, also the family name. So Cooper was more of a fun name. And my license plate, if you see me driving around, is Coop Rocks. And I'll get stopped every once in a while from someone asking me what it means, and Coop Rocks, Cooper Rocks. So it's COOPROX.
So let's talk a little bit about Cooper. So you're expectant parents, and like any parents, you're excited about this newborn, you're life changing. Tell us what happened when Cooper was born.
Yeah, so we were living in Orlando, Florida at the time. I'd gotten a year into our marriage, I'd gotten transferred to move out to Orlando, and we were living there, and Darren had a perfectly healthy pregnancy. We had no reason to believe that anything would go wrong. And an hour after Cooper was born, he stopped breathing. And we called for help, and NICU came in, and unfortunately there was too much time went by without oxygen between the time he had coded and the time they got him into NICU. So he suffered severe oxygen deprivation, and it affected his significant effect on his motor skills. Cognitive, as far as we know, cognitively, he's okay. But he was in NICU for 30 days in that hospital. And it was a very grim report. We were told by multiple neonatologists that he's suffered irreparable brain damage, and his chances of survival are very, very slim. And they said, when they released us from the hospital, they said, take him home, and he's going to cry a lot, and we're here for you if you need us. And he's not going to survive past infancy. And that's just fact. And Cooper just turned 23 years old. He'll be 24 on Christmas Eve. He's a Christmas Eve baby. He shares his birthday with my two older fraternal twin brothers, who are all born on December 24th. So he's 23 now.
So he's your miracle. I mean, they said he wasn't going to make it, and he's now 23.
Yeah. They told us he wasn't going to survive, and it was the ultimate spook. And we were brand new parents. We were in our mid 20s, and we had 1 minute our Cooper was born in the middle of the night. 1 minute we called our parents, and they're on a plane. They're getting ready to pack up and board planes from Cleveland to Orlando. And then an hour or so later, I called them and tell them, stop, here's what's going on. And we were there it was just the two of us there. We were living there all on our own. We moved from our hometown, and it was a really frightening experience for all of us.
And then when he was 2.5, he also got a mitochondrial disease that affected his motor skills.
Yeah, so we moved back to Cleveland for our incredible healthcare that we were blessed with in Northeast Ohio, and he was tested for a lot of different things because of what he was going through, and he had those early years were very, very rough, where it was all crying and a lot of sleepless nights. It was really challenging for Darren, who is a saint as far as I'm concerned, because I was going back and forth from Florida to Cleveland because of my career, and it was very important that we maintain my livelihood, so that that wasn't disrupted. And Darren was performing her miracles, working with Cooper in Cleveland, and he was. At about 2.5, he was diagnosed with the mitochondrial disease, which is a metabolic disorder. And the mitochondria produce energy to the cells to keep the organs functioning. His mitochondria are severely are damaged, and they can't be repaired. So we don't know if that's why he stopped breathing. People live with mitochondrial diseases, there's no known cure for it. But we know that the amount of time he went without oxygen caused his severe disabilities that he has today.
So when I see you out with your family, you've won many awards and you've brought Cooper to the events, and it's such a beautiful picture of family. And I wondered, this whole journey you went on, what helped you and Darren stay together and do this as a team? Because many marriages don't withstand something like this. I think people are either brought together or it pulls them apart. How did you stay together through this?
Wow. It wasn't easy. We had a lot of, there was a lot of bumpy roads we've been married over 25 years, and it wasn't easy. Our faith in each other, the will, our families, counseling. We have coaches individually and together. Just a strong will, strong upbringing, and there's no way in hell I would ever, ever, ever want her to do this on her own. I don't want any parent. I don't think any parent should have to raise a child on their own, a healthy child. But that's reality. That happens, and to have Cooper have that, for Darren or I to have that, we made it work. We went to a marriage coach, like I said, for a lot of years to make sure that we were healthy together and that we were in sync and that we were on the same page. And, we've always said, Regina, we take our cues from Cooper. We don't know what the future holds. We were told, we were told, 20, almost 24 years ago, this kid's not going to be here. And we know better than to look in the rearview mirror and to look in the crystal ball at the same time. It's one day at a time. And that's what life has for us.
That's a good way to look at it. Don't look in the crystal ball or in the rearview mirror. Just stay in today.
Yeah.
So today, Cooper is in a wheelchair. He can't eat on his own. He can't speak, but and you have to shower him. There's a lot of constant care for him.
Yeah, there is.
And your wife is his primary caretaker.
Darren is his primary caregiver. We're blessed with incredible family in our hometown where, they can help out just if we need to run an errand or something. But Cooper's an adult. So, Darren bathes him, or when Darren's not here, I do. But Darren is the primary caregiver. She also went back to work this year. So she's literally, when I say she's a saint, she's a saint. And she he's nonverbal. He's doesn't eat anything orally. He gets all his G tube from feeding tube. We toilet him. He has a communication device. He has an iPad that he communicates when he's in his adult program. But at home, we know Cooper like the back of our hand. We know what he wants. We know when he's troubled. We know what his hot buttons are to push to excite him. And, we know him by now.
So what does excite him? What brings him joy that you know
I'm
of?
sorry?
What brings him the most joy?
Family, music, books. He loves the Australian group, the Wiggles, that he's been watching and listening to for years and years. And we've taken him to a bunch of Wiggles concerts when they've toured in America. Darren started many years ago, getting him into, and in fact, I think her sisters actually got him a subscription to Audible for his birthday one year. And we've been, letting him listen to, and he helps pick them out, intellectual books, the J.K. Rowling series and Harry Potter and all that stuff. And he loves that stuff, listening to audiobooks, going for nice long walks in the neighborhood. Things like that, and listening and watching his goofy sister make fun of him and us and do little, kid stuff.
Let's talk about that decision you made to have another child, because you had so much work to take care of Cooper and so many ups and downs and therapy and medical appointments. And it sounds like you had initially closed that door, not going to try that again. What happened? You said in past interviews, you kind of had this moment of clarity, kind of an epiphany.
Yeah, it was just that. And we talked about it for a long time after we had some sense of stability with Cooper's medical treatment and care. And, we talked about it, and Darren was the driving force behind that. She really wanted another child. And I fought her on it for a long time. And I wasn't prepared for the unknown of, what if this happens to another child, even though, medically we've asked the question, why did this happen? You always ask why. You always want to know why. And we were told it was a fluke. There's nothing genetic. Darren and I did genetic testing. There's nothing, in our family history that would indicate that this would happen again, but I still was spooked by the experience. So we'd resign ourselves to that. She'd resign herself to it. And then one day, about, 11 years ago, I had an epiphany, and it smacked me in the face. And I approached her and I said, I'm ready. And she said, ready for what? And I said, ready for another child. And she goes, stop messing with me. It's not funny. I said, no, I'm ready. And she said, are you serious? And I said, yes. So we talked to Cooper's doctor, Dr. Bruce Cohn, who is a oncologist and metabolic expert at Akron Children's Hospital, formerly at the Cleveland Clinic. And we invited Bruce over for dinner at our home, and we had dinner with him. And we talked to him about it, and what do we need to know, and what do we need to do. And we went and got more genetic testing because, we wanted to make sure that we were, we were ready for this. And he said, you can do this. And medicine has changed a lot, obviously. And so we did. We did all kinds of, tests on Darren, the triple check. And that time there was the quad check. So to make sure that everything was good, and knock on wood, everything went well. And we had a plan in place that in the unlikely event that something happened to the baby, we had a neonatologist in the labor and delivery room. And the plan was to take the baby immediately after delivery, take him or her up to, we knew it was going to be a girl, so take her up to NICU, where insurance wouldn't pay for it because it was preventative. We paid out of our pocket to have her in NICU for 5 days to make sure that she was observed. So if in those early days she was going to CART, they were there and could treat her. And that was our plan. And
how old is she now?
Yeah. Carson will be 11 on July 9th.
Okay. All right, well, we're at the halfway mark, so I want to pause for just a second. I want to thank you for listening to Little Detours with Regina Brett. And I want to thank our guest, Kevin Adelstein, for joining us. I know you have many podcast choices, and I'm most grateful that you picked mine to listen to. So, Kevin, I wonder, growing up, there were five boys, 2 sets of twins. Did you feel lonely?
I did.
You have another half.
Yeah, I'm sandwiched in the middle of two sets of twin brothers, and we're 5 years apart. So I was called every name you can imagine: the oddball, pickle in the middle, the one without a twin. And I did feel left out. There were many sleepless nights where my parents even took me to a child psychologist because I didn't feel that connection. And I remember, nights where my parents would leave the bathroom light on for me, and milk and cookies in the bathroom in case I woke up, and to help me. It was part of helping me sleep because I had my own room. My brothers got to share a room with each other and had each other in their room, and I felt left out.
Interesting what that would do to a child, because the normal almost seems like you have a pair, you have a twin in your family. So how did you
Yeah.
sort of make peace with that and kind of really just say, okay, this is who I am in the world?
I grew up and I realized how special, and I call it Special K also because I didn't have a twin, but I realized how unique it was, and the fact that, hey, I have my own room, I have my own car, I have my own clothes, I have my own friends,
Yeah.
and I still have my brothers who turn out to be my best friends in the world. And we're very close. We always, all five of us always were. It's a very special bond. Like I said, we're 5 years apart. So, my mom, had I been a girl, shame on her, foolish her, and I'd been a girl, she would have stopped. And she wanted to go one more time, try one more time to get, one girl. And oops, she had, not
Hi,
only,
boys. Oh my.
yeah, not only boys, but another set of twins.
I'm sure she stopped after that and said, no more, no more
Yes,
sets of
yes,
boys.
yes. She counted her blessings.
Way to
So.
go. Kevin, when we first met all those years ago, I remember you telling me you worked with an energy coach. And this whole idea of energy in your life is so important. And also when you see for Cooper to not have that energy, I wonder, what does energy mean to you and the idea of working with a coach? Why is that so important to you?
Yes, so I had, before Carson was born, in between Cooper and Carson, I had some medical issues on my own that I was dealing with. And part of that recovery for me and that treatment for me was on the recommendation of my mother-in-law, was getting a energy coach and doing Reiki and to help restore my body and to keep it balanced and build yin while balancing yang and all that stuff. So, I found myself an energy practitioner, and Janelle Volk-Hubbard is one of my dearest confidants to this day, and we see each other monthly, and now during coronavirus, every other week we do a Zoom call. We've been doing it now for a couple months now because I can't go into her to see her in her studio, but it's practicing energy medicine to build up strength, energy in your body and in your mind. And I do it religiously on a daily ritual, as a daily ritual. And then I lay on her table when I see her monthly or biweekly, and she balances me and keeps me balanced. And we talk a little bit about what my life is like at that point in time. We spend a little bit of time talking as my coach, and then she performs energy medicine on me, and then I have she taught me how to do it on my own, where I'll do some 5-minute energy medicine exercises at home every morning. That's how I start my day.
Tell us about what that actually is when you say energy medicine. Is it tapping? Is it
Yep.
okay?
It's tapping. It's tapping. It's like this. It's tapping behind my shoulder. It's taking a spoon, the bottom of your spoon, bottom of a spoon, and rubbing it on the bottom of your feet, because that helps restore different organs, help keeps different organs balanced. And when I'm really troubled, we'll talk about what's troubling me, whether it's at home or work or life in general. And we want to make sure that my organs remain healthy and balanced. So she'll do different treatments based on what we're trying to balance at that point in time.
And after the show, I'll get that information, a link to maybe her website. If people are interested, they could find out more about that. That'd be great.
Sure.
Now, you also are a crazy person on the bike.
Yeah. So
Man.
well, I'm struggling with it because I'm really competitive, and I watch the leaderboard. We're talking about Peloton, my colleagues at work make fun of me just because I'm obsessed with that exercise regimen. That Darren and I literally, 2+ years ago, we saw a commercial, the power of advertising, and we saw a commercial. We went online and watched some videos, and neither one of us were bicyclists outside of, recreational.
Right.
So we're not competitive in that regard. We've never been on a Peloton bike. We didn't have a Peloton studio in Cleveland at the time. And we rolled the dice and we bought it. And we love it now. We ride religiously. She's doing like right now, she's hiking on a hiking trail, practicing social distancing. So she won't ride today, but tomorrow she will. And I ride every day. There's start my day on the bike early in the morning, or I'll end it depending on my day's schedule that week or that particular day. And we love it. And I just had a milestone a couple weeks ago. I had my 700th ride, and we've actually been out in New York and gone to the studio there and taken some live rides in the studio, which is pretty cool too.
So it sounds, Kevin, like you do a lot to take care of yourself. A lot of
I
good
try.
self-care.
Easier said than done. It's just, especially now, and my primary concern is not me, it's my family. It's making sure that Carson doesn't get lost in the shuffle of life.
Sure.
And especially now when kids are so vulnerable, and the disruption that they're faced with, their lives have been faced with, and this disappointment. I mean, we're supposed to, later this week, we're supposed to go to New York. We had a trip planned to New York City, just the three of us. And Darren and I getting away without Cooper is, a feat in itself. And thanks to the blessing and support of her family, and her sister we were going to fly her in from Dallas, and she was going to spend the weekend with Cooper. And we were supposed to take Carson to New York to go see 2 Broadway shows. We were going to the Peloton studio, a live ride, and make Carson watch us do a live ride in the studio. That obviously has been disrupted, and she's been miraculous, and just, it's miraculous seeing her disappointment it doesn't wear on her. And so dealing with all that is much more important to me than taking care of myself and taking care of our company, and making sure that we can weather this storm that we all have. And, I'm responsible for 24 employees and people like you, freelancers who have been affected by this, and you're still a member of our family. And that weighs on that weight carries a tremendous burden on my shoulders, and has since the pandemic started. And that's why it's so important that I do practice energy medicine, and I do talk to Janelle on a regular basis. We were doing it monthly, and we've increased it to every other week, because it's I need to make sure that I am healthy.
So at the Cleveland Juice News, you have 7,000 some subscribers, about 25,000 readers. If you look at, there's different people in the house reading. And you've got a lot of detours to navigate in the news business, as far as the ads going digital, and now advertising being cut because of the coronavirus. How do you kind of navigate this changing world of journalism? I mean, you're the guy who's, the buck stops here, so to speak.
Yeah, so we have an incredible staff who really buy into my plan, who buy into what we're trying to accomplish. They bought into it a long time ago. And when I came in, I said, I want to build a world-class organization. With all due respect to my predecessors, I didn't think that we were a world-class organization. There's so much more that we needed to do. And I was really driven on that. And I am really blessed with an incredible board of directors who support me and buy into it, and provide incredible leadership to us at a time where we need it the most. Our community is very, very, very special. It's what attracted me to this community a long time ago. And that helps. Watching the challenges that the Plain Dealer is going through really weigh on me as well, because I'm a journalist. It's my vocation. I went to school for journalism, so it's not like I was just thrown into this. At the same time, I understand the business side, because most of my career was spent in advertising, not in writing. So I have that unique perspective from both sides of it to be able to, maneuver through the ad side as well as the dire need for journalism and to not, to sort of watch both of those lines and at the same time we tore down the wall, if you will.
And for those of you not familiar, the Plain Dealer is Ohio's largest newspaper. I worked there for many years. And let's close with the idea of Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam, I love it, another beautiful Jewish concept, to repair the world. And in some ways, you are doing that, many ways, through journalism. Tell us how you have taken that idea of repairing the world and making that part of your personal mission and the paper's mission.
How I've done it through the paper's mission is, as you know, we've initiated over the last many years under the leadership, and this was brought to us from Adam Mandel, who's our vice president of sales, who came from another newspaper company where he was familiar with events and planned events, and he wanted us to do something to recognize members of the community that were giving back, that were doing something that was meaningful, and that's where Tikkun Olam is, repairing the world. So we created the Cleveland Jewish News 18 Difference Makers, and that recognizes members of the community, lay leaders as well as professionals that are truly giving back to the community and impacting Jewish Cleveland. We took that a step further. 2 years ago, we introduced Cleveland Jewish News 12 under 36 members of the tribe, recognizing 18 members under the age of 36 that are impacting Jewish Cleveland. We rolled 18 Difference Makers out in Columbus when we launched the Columbus Jewish News. We have now the Columbus Jewish News 18 Difference Makers. So we're doing that. We're giving members of the community a voice in the newspaper, where whenever somebody says, I'd like to write a article for you, I will jump all over that, Regina, because we are a community newspaper. I want their voice heard, and nobody can tell it like them. And then we polish it and edit it, of course, but giving members of the community a voice through their words in the newspaper is very important to me. And doing that online and engaging the youth members of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland's Young Leadership Division and creating content for them is really important. That's part of showing the world that we all live in and how they're making a difference.
There's a great quote by Rabbi Noah Weinberg. He says, if you don't know what you're living for, you haven't yet lived. So Kevin, what are you living for?
What am I living for?
Yeah. How would you answer that?
My kids depend on me, and my family depends on me, first and foremost. I depend on me. I'm living for the world around me. I talked earlier about when I got I had an illness many years ago, and the only thing that I was worried about, it wasn't me not being there, but it was me not being there for my family, and having Cooper at the time not have a father, and have Darren not have a husband to support her, and my parents not having me. And you go to the darkest places when you think you're sick, and so I live for my family, and I could not ever imagine life without them, or my life, their life without me. And I learned a long time ago, control the controllable. Worry about
I like that. Control the controllable.
Control the controllable.
Okay.
And that's what I try to do.
I love that. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And tell us again how to reach you. I know it's cjn.org is the website. Any Facebook page you want to mention?
Yeah, so you can find the Cleveland Jewish News and the Columbus Jewish News on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. On Facebook, Cleveland Jewish News is at Cleveland Jewish News. And on Instagram and Twitter, it's at CleveJN. And Columbus Jewish News is at Columbus Jewish News. And on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Columbus J News. And you can find me on LinkedIn. All of our content is on our website, and in the coronavirus pandemic, we've posted hundreds and hundreds of original articles and content affecting the Cleveland and Columbus Jewish communities. I'm telling their stories of interest, and I encourage you to follow us.
Okay, and I'll have links to those on my website, reginabrett.com. Well, my biggest takeaway today is we don't really want a crystal ball or the rearview mirror. We really do want to just keep our vision in the present. And I love that, control the controllable. Kevin, I want to have you close with your answer to this question. What is the best thing you do for yourself every day to create a life you love out of the life you have?
I watch what I eat to take care of myself. So I eat to live. I also, doesn't mean I don't binge. I mean, I have vices, peanut butter M&Ms, a great glass of red wine. I practice energy medicine. I exercise. I allow my time to exercise without guilt. And Darren allows me that, and I allow her that too, because it's very important to us. And put Carson to bed every night and lay with her. And we have our little ritual in her bed where we say, we do a pixie dust, sort of like a quasi prayer with each other. And I lay with her for a few minutes and then helps her go to sleep and puts me my mind at ease, knowing that she's okay, tucked in.
It's beautiful. What a beautiful way to start and end the day. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Take care.
Thank you for having me, Regina.